friends, my name's Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today I am going to start the process of prepping for my favorite readathon of the year. Next month in June is the Amazing Readathon. I absolutely adored being a co-host for this last year, and I'm so excited to be back again. The announcement video just went live today when you're seeing this, so it is linked down in the description box below. Go check it out. Go find out all the details from Bree, because Bree is the one that is spearheading this Amazing Readathon. Bree puts so much work into this every year, and I am so excited to participate and also be the co-host for Team Sci-Fi. I am also really excited to be co-hosting Team Sci-Fi with my fellow Canadian, Zoe. We have decided that we are going to be chaotic Canadians together and be the leaders of Team Sci-Fi, and I cannot wait to see how that goes down over the month of June. At the beginning of the year, I had decided that I wanted to read more sci-fi. I've read sci-fi in the past and really enjoyed it, and I wanted this year to be a year where I really focused on that. Bree, hearing that, and knowing that the teams were going to be a little bit different this year, messaged me and was like, instead of colors, we're doing genres, will you do sci-fi? And I gladly said yes. So for this next couple of days, I am going to get into my Amazing Readathon brain space. And if you haven't chosen a team yet, again, all the information is at that video down below. But maybe you should join Team Sci-Fi. So this morning I pulled out my old Amazing Readathon merch. There is new merch, but I'm waiting for it to arrive from Bonfire. So for today, I decided to pull out my old merch, and I opened a package that Bree sent me, which is the new Amazing Readathon bookmark. You would have seen that in B-roll already. There's a new bookmark for every single team. Of course, I have Team Sci-Fi's bookmark. There's also a general Amazing Readathon bookmark as well. Again, all that is linked in the announcement video.
Can you tell I'm excited? I'm very excited.
So I figured, what book should I read to get in the theme of Amazing Readathon, to get ready, to get prepped, to prepare to be a co-host for Team Sci-Fi? So the book I decided to read in this vlog is The Blighted Stars by Megan O'Keefe. I've been meaning to pick this up for a while, so I'm very excited to dive in and vlog this during this video, but also during this video, we're going to be prepping for the Amazing Readathon. We have to get some sci-fi books. I have some on my shelves, but I know I'm gonna need more options. I know I'm gonna need more options because I don't know what the prompts are gonna be. We know some of the prompts, we know the sightseeing prompts, but I don't know the leg prompts, and I need a lot of options. So we're gonna prep and get some more sci-fi books in this house. I'm also really hoping that my Bonfire merch arrives. According to shipping, it should be here tomorrow. So I kind of want to open that with you as well. And we are just going to prep to be Team Sci-Fi for the next few days and get ready and kind of just get excited for what is to come in June. We have a lot to talk about in this book. This book starts off full tilt, diving into the plot, and just keeps moving. Yesterday, I made it to the end of page 147, which is the end of chapter 21. In this book, we are following Tarquin and Naira. Both of these people are somewhat enemies due to life circumstances. So at the start of this book, we start off in a spaceship, and this spaceship has Tarquin and his father. They run this company. This company seems to kind of be controlling a lot of different aspects of this world and this life. They're traveling with another spaceship, which does become important very quickly, so I do want to mention that. And they're heading towards a planet in order to mine it for some kind of mineral that really wasn't fully explained to me yet in the book. Immediately upon us meeting them, something starts to go awry on the ship. Something called misprints start to attack the ship. What are misprints? So in this world, basically your brain is mapped and can be reprinted into a new body. So anytime someone dies, you have the option of reprinting them into this fresh body, and sometimes things go awry. Sometimes the printing doesn't work. and the body you get printed into might be not quite correct, and therefore the actual brain map does not get put into the body. These start to attack the ship. Bodies with no consciousnesses start to attack the ship. This is like the first couple of chapters. Like, we dive into this book. So Tarquin and his father, who are the leaders of this company, are trying to be protected from these misfits. They kind of leave everybody who's on the ship and start heading towards a pod to leave this ship and get away from these misfits. Tarquin's father never makes it to the pod. He ends up getting attacked by the misfits. This is not as devastating as you would think it is because we know that his brain is just going to get reprinted into a new body. Tarquin, however, makes it to the pod, and him and a few of the people on the ship get on, including Naira. So Naira used to work for the company under his father, Tarquin's father, and she knew a lot of things that were going on. How she knew all these things, I still don't know. I am learning as we go through the book. She ended up joining a contingency of people kind of fighting against this company and this world called the Conservators. The Conservators are convinced that the way this company is mining whatever they're mining from the planets is actually killing the planets. And they want to conserve the green on the planets. So she has gone undercover in a body that is not hers. So it's her brain mapping in a different person's body to infiltrate this company and basically stop them from hurting the planet they're on the way to. She prints into this new body right in the middle of all this misfit drama that's going on the ship. So she just jumps into the pod with Tarquin. They start heading towards the new planet. They expect it to be a thriving planet, and when they show up, it's actually already dead. We actually find out that Naira, being a part of the Conservators, was actually taken to trial about some things that she did as part of this revolution. And she tried to speak out against the company and say what they were doing were killing the planets. And Tarquin, who is very bookish, very science-based, more than his father who's like running the company, but he seems to know more about the science of what's going on, spoke against her and actually was like one of the witnesses in her trial saying, no, it's not possible that the company is causing this. Naira thinks he's lying. Tarquin is convinced that Naira was wrong and is not lying because we get both POVs in this book. So when they both show up on this dead planet, they're both trying to figure out how it's already dead because she thought the company would cause it. He thinks the company isn't causing it, but he's wondering what is causing the planets that they're mining to die. Does this planet have the key? Also, I should mention, he doesn't know Naira is Naira. He thinks Naira is the person that Naira is pretending to be. He only knows Naira from her trial and still thinks that her brain map is in prison. So we know it's Naira, but nobody in this contingent of people who made it to the planet know it's Naira. They get to this planet. They have very limited food resources because they did not plan on landing in such an emergency case. And because of everything going on their ship, the other ship, who has some sort of consciousness, even though it is an inanimate object, shot down the other ship, knowing something was wrong. So now Tarquin's ship is no more. There is the other ship, but for some reason or another, he can't seem to get in contact with them, so they can't get supplies. They're on this dead planet, and they need to survive and figure out a way off of it. This book has so many facets. I don't even know if I covered them all in that brief synopsis. So much has been going on in the first part of this book. It has been going the entire time, as you can tell by how much I told you. That only happened in the first 100 pages of this book. The things that I'm finding interesting are this brain mapping concept about how you can be mapped and printed into a new brain. We also talk about how that can only happen a certain number of times. There is a limit to how many times you can be reprinted. The longer you get reprinted, and even under different circumstances of how you get reprinted, maybe makes you crack. And that's when your brain mapping starts to deteriorate and your consciousness starts to kind of fall apart. That part of this book is very intriguing to me. I'm also really interested in the climate fiction part of the book. I don't think we've really seen much of it yet, but I think we're going to dive into that a lot more. Also, this idea of these misprints, they keep arising. They keep kind of coming up and trying to attack people. And it's very zombie-like, which is kind of freaky, but adds a really interesting dimension to this book. The one thing that I'm finding difficult is to sink into this story. It took me a long time to sink in. I'm finding I really do need to be looking at the book in order to really take it all in. But even when I am reading the book along with the book, I am still finding that there are times where I'm not sinking into this story. And I think it's just due to the sheer speed at which we're running. There is so much going on. I don't even know if I told you all about it. Like, there is just so much going on. I'm sure I forgot to mention something. In such a small space of time that I have no time to connect with the characters. I'm having no time to really settle into the world building and what is actually happening. So I'm hoping that now that we've gotten onto the planet, I'm hoping we kind of slow down. It has not happened yet. We have not slowed down yet. We are still running at a very fast clip. But I am hoping to slow down as we go through the book further so that I can really connect in with the story, get to know all the intricacies of the things that I am interested in. I want to know more about them. And I feel like at this point in time, I haven't gotten there yet. That's what I'm hoping for today. I'm going to be reading this later today on sprints. So hopefully we'll have some downtime where I can really sink into this story a little bit more. But there's definitely a lot of things that I am very intrigued to find out what is happening. So it's the next day and you just saw me unboxing some very exciting packages because my new Amazing Readathon merch has arrived. But I'm honestly obsessed with the new logo. It looks so good on the black. I'm so glad that I grabbed one of these in the crew neck. But let's talk about the Blighted Stars for a minute because I have no idea if I was coherent yesterday in what I told you. There was just so much to tell you that I'm sure I missed some important updates, but I hopefully will cover most of that in the subsequent ones. Last night, I got to page 250 of this, which was, I believe, 51% of the book. So I'm exactly in the middle. That's not necessarily where I wanted to be today. I think this book is going to take 4 days. I thought it would only take 3. That's totally okay. Mostly because I really do need to sit down and read the book with my eyes. I do have the audiobook, so I'm like immersion reading it, but I find if I just start doing things while listening to the audiobook, I get a bit disconnected, not lost. I know what's going on, but I don't sink into the story as well if I'm not looking at it and reading along. However, I will say yesterday I was concerned that I wasn't going to, and we definitely did slow down the pacing of this book once I started into it yesterday. Now that they're on planet, there is still action happening, but there is some downtime too where our characters are really just looking into this planet and finding out what's happening there. But y'all, these misprints are so creepy. They're so creepy because they're this body that has no brain. But also, we kind of find out that there's maybe something even more going on with them. We kind of figure out how they started to run rampant on the ship, and there are some also on the planet. So we have not gotten away from them. I think I said it yesterday, they're very zombie-like. It's very, very creepy. It almost gives this book like a horror element, which I don't typically like horror, but not because I don't like creepy things. That's not why I don't like horror. I don't like horror because a lot of times there is no explanation for why the things are happening. In this book, there's explanations for the misprints. We understand why they're being made. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay that it's creepy. It kind of lends an atmospheric quality to this book when one of them pops out of nowhere or dangles from a tree.
Oh my God. Are you okay?
And every once in a while, we kind of get a jump scare when they surprise one of our characters. All of our characters that we're following in this book, I understand their motivations except for one, Naira. Naira, who is undercover as Tarquin's bodyguard, basically. Again, Tarquin doesn't know who she is. Her motivations at the beginning of this book are clear. In the middle of what I've read so far become unclear, and now I kind of see how we got where we got. But there's a moment where I'm like, why is she making the choices she is making? And I still don't really know. So Naira comes on this ship to basically destroy it, to enact this plan that the conservators, the revolutionary, wants to enact. When the ship does explode and she ends up on this planet, she is Tarquin's bodyguard. Technically, she's undercover as his bodyguard, but she never intended to be his bodyguard. She has no reason to save this man. She has no reason to protect him from suspicions from other people, the misprints, all of that. She has no reason for that. And that is the part that I don't understand. Now, 50% into the book, we see that she's kind of uncovered that maybe there's more to Tarquin than meets the eye. Maybe she didn't quite understand what was going on. Maybe he has had his eyes closed to what his father and the company were doing, and he's not really as at fault as she originally thought. But that took some time to get to that point. So why was she protecting him before she knew that? And that's where I'm a bit confused. I don't quite understand why Naira made those choices. I don't think I ever will. Because even though we found out there's more to how Naira came on this ship than meets the eye, and I won't go into that because that would be spoilers, none of it explains why she would protect him so fervently right at the beginning. I know he has the family codes to technically communicate with the other ship, but I feel like in her original mission, that was never part of the plan. So I just don't see why she did those things. She's learned more about Tarquin now. She knows that maybe he was not aware of what was going on, and maybe he is not the root of the evil in this family, and even maybe wants to speak out against his family. But she didn't know that at the beginning, and that's irritating me just a little bit. So now I understand her motivations, but there was a time where I didn't, and we would have never gotten to the place in the book where we're at had she acted on her motivations that I think she went on the ship for. So that's where I have a little bit of a disconnect. All the other characters, I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Tarquin, I understand why he went on this journey to find out if his family is actually killing the planets or to prove that they're not. And now that he's on this dead planet, he's like, I need to find out why it's dying because this will prove that it's not my family or it was my family one way or the other. His father, which I can never remember the name of, he is corrupted by power, wants to hold on to this power, and he also wants to save his wife. His wife is cracked. He wants to bring her back. That's impossible, but he is determined to find a way to do so. So between those two motivations of being just wanting all this power and also wanting to do something that is impossible, probably because he thinks he has all this power and he can basically do whatever he wants, even the impossible. I understand his motivations as well. I don't like him, but I understand his motivations. All the other people on this planet, I get it. But Naira, her motivations for a time do not make sense to me in this book. But that's okay. They're on this planet now. They're working together to try to figure out what is causing this planet to die and also to find a way off the planet. They are kind of discovering who each other really is, or at least Naira is discovering more about Tarquin than he is about Naira, because he does not know Naira is Naira still. Doesn't have a clue. I'm sure at some point he will figure this out, but not yet. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this update is I want more Pliny. Pliny is a tiny little robot, and he clings to the side of Tarquin's arm and is basically an emotional support robot. He also can help Tarquin with actual sciencey things. So he can help analyze the planet, etc., etc. But we find out Tarquin actually suffers from panic attacks, and Pliny helps him by giving him little squeezes on his arm. It is so cute. And I want more Pliny because Pliny is that cute side character that I always fall in love with in a book. There's always a cute side character that I just think, oh my goodness, it's so cute and it's tiny and it's lovely, and Pliny is that for me. There isn't that much Pliny in this book, but I would love to see more Pliny in the future. So yesterday I got to page 410 in The Blighted Stars, which is the start of chapter 62. And that works to be just over 80% of the way through this book. So I am definitely going to finish this today. And I'm excited to see how it ends because everyone I talk to who has read this book keeps telling me, I can't wait to see your reaction to the ending. So what in the world is happening in this ending? I can't wait to find out. But first, let's talk about where we are so far. So I can't obviously go into much detail of this book at this point because I'm very well into it. But I can talk about what I'm liking and what maybe isn't sitting as well for me in this book, which there's a little bit of both. I really feel like the general themes and ideas of this book are very interesting. The idea of this brain mapping, I've mentioned it a few times. I find that very intriguing, how you can have your brain mapped and printed again. The climate fiction part of this book is very interesting, seeing them trying to save this world, figure out why worlds are dying, seeing them doing mining and looking at different things on the different planets. That I really find very intriguing. However, as we went into this book, we found out that there was even more components to this book from the ones that I've already mentioned, which I've already mentioned a lot. There became a biological component. I will not go into that because, again, it happens pretty deep in the book, so I'm going to just let it stand. Which in and of itself, again, is a really interesting idea, and I liked the idea for what it was. But mixed in with all the other ideas in this book, I think there are just too many. I do see how they all interconnect and how it all kind of comes together to make this bigger world. But I just think that we're missing a little bit of world building or something to support the amount of ideas in this book. I don't even know if I can put my finger on it, but I feel like it's just one too many ideas. We also have a romance in this book, which again is not spoilers because it is mentioned on the back. So I kind of always knew that our two main characters would eventually come together in some sort of romantic way. And the whole time I've been kind of nervous to see how that played out because I never really could figure out how it would. They have only known each other for a handful of days on this planet. It has not been very long, and the entire time they have been just trying to survive. So I just feel like the flirting and things that are happening feel slightly out of place from what is going on in the book otherwise. And I never fully bought into that these two would have a relationship. So now that it's happened, I'm still not quite buying into it. And I think you need to really love that part of the book. And I'm just not there. Also, during the later half of this book, we discuss how old everyone is. And I kind of knew Naira was a little bit older, but I assumed Tarquin was younger than he was. He's in like his 30s and 40s. He does not read that old to me, not even a little bit. So I was very surprised to hear he was that old. And I was kind of trying to figure out why I thought he was younger. I think it might be because he's been under his father's thumb this whole time. So maybe I just assumed he was younger, but he is also written somewhat younger. And that comes to my last critique, I promise, because there are things about this book that I am liking, but there's definitely some things that I'm like, this doesn't make it easy to follow this book. And that is the timeline. We find out more about Tarquin's mother in this book. We know she's cracked. We know that his father has been mourning that and trying to come up with a solution to that. But the timeline has been a bit strange. Has she been cracked for a long time? Has it been a little bit of time? And it's really hard to suss that out. The more we find out about her, they start spitting out times of how long his father hasn't been reprinted because he wants to stay in the body that he knew his wife in, but also how long she has been in her state, and those times don't really line up. So the timeline is a bit questionable, and it makes me just a little bit confused into how it is all playing out, which I think lends into the ages. We'll find out that Tarquin was maybe 19 when his mother cracked, but then somebody will say, oh, it's been a month. And I'm like, but he's 30 something. The timeline is a bit ambiguous with the numbers that they're spitting out in the book, with not as much explanation to make it all make sense. That being said, I am very excited to find out how this ends because everyone is telling me the ending is a time. And I'm already kind of seeing that. We're seeing them kind of figure out a way to get off the planet, figure out where we're going to go from here with all these different things that are happening. How much of that I'm going to be actually able to talk about as I read the ending, I don't know. But I'm really intrigued to see what this ending is and how this wraps up for this book. Obviously, this is a larger series, so I think some of these things are probably not actually concluded in this book and will be in subsequent books. And maybe even the things that I enjoy about this book, I will go into deeper explanations in the subsequent books, which I would like. I feel like at this point, there's so many ideas and we're just surface leveling a lot of them. And I want to dig deep into some of them a bit more. We are digging deep into some things, but I would like a bit more information about many, many topics because there are so many interesting ideas in this book. I think the ideas are top tier and I just would like more information. more details to make me be able to put together things like the timeline, exactly how everything connects a little bit better. I have finished The Blighted Stars. The ending was pretty good. I agree with everyone who said wait till you get to the ending. There's a lot of action at the end, which I have come to expect from this book. This book, the pacing is very fast-paced. So the end was very similar, where we were really just having a lot of things happen, boom, 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 boom. A lot of things did come together in the end, but a lot of things didn't, which I kind of expected, knowing that there is a sequel and a third book to this trilogy. So I am sure that a lot of the concepts will be delved into more as you go through the trilogy. For me, I think this is a book, though, that less would have been more, and some of the things maybe didn't need to be talked about all in the first book, or even just pared down one or two ideas, just so that we could really sink our teeth into the ideas that were here. Because there were so many, there was no time to really sink in and discover all there was to that particular set of ideas. And that may be a personal preference thing for me, that I like a book where I have a little bit of time and space to get to know characters and get to know a world. I like to dive into world building, and this book doesn't give you the time to do that. And I do think that because of that, there is some confusion in things like the timeline and various things like that. That being said, because the ideas are so good, I did enjoy this book and I did enjoy what it was trying to do. I just wish it would have done it a little bit differently for my taste. So for that reason, I gave it a 3.5 star rating, and I don't know if I'm going to continue with this series. I'm undecided. I have talked to a few people who have continued this series and read the second book, and also ones who have started the second book but have not completed it yet. And they have all told me that the relationship plays a much larger part in the second book. Since I did not care that much about the romance in this book, that doesn't necessarily make me want to continue. And I'm wondering if part of that is I do not read a lot of fantasy romance or romantasy. It's not a genre I typically love. So potentially sci-fi romance is not my favorite either. I would rather just stick to a pure sci-fi. I would definitely need to read more sci-fi romances to be sure of that. That's just me kind of making a guess, knowing that I'm not a big fanro reader reading this book. But I'm still really glad that I read it, and I'm so excited to read more sci-fi in June as part of Team Sci-Fi for Amazing Readathon. Again, if you have not checked out Bree's announcement video, it is linked down below. Go ahead, check it out. Join a team, preferably Team Sci-Fi. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.